Okay, back again. This is very exciting. I am still practicing social distancing, and I would probably say mastering emotional distancing. Oh, I'm just kidding. That's a joke. Welcome back. This is fun stuff. A lot of this conversation is going to be a review, but it should now be reinforced. This is project selection. Remember, you don't exist yet. Now, these are the objectives for this lesson. Feel free to review them. The topics covered I use as a reminder that when you're all done and you're ready for your exam, you ought to be able to come back, review these lines, and be able to talk to them in your head conversationally. Don't move your lips. People might wonder unless you're talking to somebody else. Now, this slide I have shown previously, but notice I have greened out most of it because you don't really exist yet. In the project selection, it's about the C-suite developing the business documents, which fall under two types. The business case, which is why the project is needed, that's what will be defined, and the benefits management plan, such as return on investment. This is the strategic level, and this is how your project is tied into corporate strategy. From here, you will take these and to build out what's greened out in your project processes will become clearer based on boiling down these documents. So you will first start with the PMBOK guide, and you'll use your project management skills going across the center and apply subject matter knowledge expertise, subject matter expertise, their knowledge, right? So basically you're taking the BOK, or the body of knowledge, which is proven and emerging concepts. You're going to add this knowledge and you're going to build out these management plans. We call them methodologies, right, to control your project. Now, a couple of things about the PMBOK. It says of itself that it is generally recognized practices that's applicable to most. It's not trying to tell you what to do. It's saying these are the great ideas out there that work. So it calls itself a set of good practices, not best practices. It further defines that the PMBOK guide is descriptive. It's describing what you should do. It's not telling you exactly how to do it. I can't start on page 1 of the PMBOK guide, go to page 800 and have a successful project. It doesn't work that way. There's so much to integrate, and that's your job in integration management. And all of it's right here to satisfy the customers. So the projects, as I mentioned, are linked to strategic objectives. And we talked about in key terms how that is going to be related, tied through the requirements traceability matrix later. But we're still here at the strategic level, project selection. And so you have to know, as a project manager, there are triggers that you'd want to look for. What was the project trigger that drove the C-suite to create these business documents, like the business case? Was it market demand? Was there a strategic opportunity like an iPhone or Samsung? Was there a process improvement like or a new training program required because of some OSHA standard, right? Was there technological advance in mobile communication, politics or environmental or legal issues, etc.? So those are some things. You'll want to know those triggers for the exam, and it helps you define your scope in the project. So the key components we've already discussed, but just as a review, at the strategic level, you have the PMO, right? So projects start with the company strategy tied to the PMO. The PMO is going to guide you. They're going to give you resources, governance, provide project managers. There are various levels of PMO. You'll want to look those up in the PMBOK guide. But in general, you will get these things from you. They'll help you prioritize and manage your project. And they're going to be managing the PMO portfolio, which is a project, program, or an operation. Remember, operations are not projects. They are recurring items that happen every day. Sure, there are going to be issues to solve, but they're not projects. These are repetitive items that happen every day, like launching airplanes, okay? But they are related by some strategic or high-value objective. A program are a bunch of related projects that improve coordination and resource usage. And the value to a program is the benefits are not available when these projects are managed individually. But when managed as a program, you see the benefits because you share risks, you share requirements, you share resources and knowledge, right? And a project is, by its shortest definition, temporary and unique. It's temporary in its time, beginning and end dates. It is unique in its deliverable, which will be a verified product, result, or capability to perform a service. Now, sticking with the strategic note, so what a project is doing is there's some business value that the company doesn't have that they want. That's on the vertical scale here. And so we take these business documents and we will look at the current state. The business case should do this. And our project is tied to strategy to drive us to a future state, to seek that higher business value over time. And so we want to be aware of projects and programs. Projects and programs are doing it the right way. A portfolio, remember that's the governance piece, that's doing the right projects. What are the strategic projects in a portfolio, right? And some other notes. Notice I have 1.2.2 here. That's a reference to the PMBOK guide. If you wanted to flip to it and just read it for yourself, this is kind of a summary, right? And so remember, the projects are key to corporate success. Now, the project program or portfolio, sometimes called PPPM, they're differentiated by a term called OPM, okay? They are differentiated by OPM, okay? And so this is organizational project management. And you'll see some slides where I've broken down here OPM, which is the framework. And a project is much more specific, and you see some of the key terms, like it's temporary and unique. It's progressively elaborated. But you'll notice the program is about synergy between like projects, where a portfolio is a key term you might see on an exam is centralized management, right? It's that strategic level, high value. And then I've got a note here on what operations are about. Those are repetitive items that are ongoing, already out in operations, if I may. And you can read more on that on 1.2.3.4. Now, we've already discussed life cycles in the process group, so this is really just a review. Remember, a life cycle is a series of phases, right? Like design, construction, testing, or before we've said design, testing, and transition, whatever phases you need. This is why project management ties into any industry, medical, car construction, environmental, because you can take your own industry life cycle and use project management, because in each phase you will do IPAC and end with a phase gate, which is that go, no-go decision. Then you'll go on to the next phase. If the go, no-go decision was go, you go on to the next phase. You'll do IPAC again. Even though you've already planned the project, you will do IPAC to refine it, right? And apply what you've learned. Do a phase gate, go on to the next phase. If it's approved, do IPAC again, and then project close out, okay? Okay, so this is just a summary of the last couple of slides. We have these steps. We develop a life cycle. We develop the project through the project phases. These are logically related. Make sure we have a phase gates. And use the project management processes, which we haven't talked about yet, but we will get into in the knowledge areas. They each have inputs, tools, and techniques and outputs. And what you're doing on the left here is you're integrating them all the time in this framework, okay? All I've done here is add to our understanding of the life cycle by highlighting the product life cycle, which you want to consider as a project manager, and the project life cycle. The project life cycle lasts only as long as the project itself, but the product life cycle will go on as long as that product is in operation. So as a quick example, if I had to build Tide with bleach, I might use a bleach that fulfilled my project needs, but created long-term some environmental hazard. And so it really wouldn't meet with product scope long-term, right? And so I want to consider that. And I want to consider that by using these life cycles and picking the right developmental approach, a hybrid, predictive, or agile approach to developing my deliverable. Now, I've mentioned the process groups before. You can review more of this on page 25 of the PMBOK guide. If you're using the PDF version, it's page 62. So the process groups are linked by results. And I mentioned the IPEC, the 5 process groups, and a little bit about them here, worthy of your time to review. In addition, those are tied, if you look on page 25 of the PMBOK guide, down the left-hand side, you see the knowledge areas. These are subject matter expertise. And so you'll want to review those. Here's a summary of what I'm getting from each of the knowledge areas. And integration management. This is you. This is your knowledge area and the 7 processes to manage all of the other processes listed. Okay, and so here's what page 25 of the PMBOK guide looks like, for example. Notice it has knowledge areas down the left, process groups along the top, and then the individual process names listed and numbered in each, is what I was trying to get at there. Now, the process groups and knowledge areas are used in the project management plan to build a project management plan. The project management plan goes by other terms. It's a subsidiary plan, it's a management plan, it's they create constraints on each other, and a management plan tells you how you're going to do something. So the project management plan tells me how I'm going to do the whole project, and a scope management plan describes how I'm going to manage and guide and execute and control scope. A schedule management plan tells me how I'm going to execute and control schedule, etc. Right? It can be formal or informal. It's up to you. It's whatever you need to be a success on the project. Now, we've already talked key terms: work performance data, which is raw, work performance information, which is analyzed, and work performance reports, which the keyword is compiled from the PMBOK guide. So it is an executive summary. I collect data during the execution process group. I will do work performance information. I'll analyze it in the controlling process group, and I will do reports in both controlling and executing process groups. Now, the PMBOK guide, again, it gives us this framework to project management. I'm going to pause here. There's a couple of things I want to cover. We'll come back for part 2 of the project selection and the things you need to know.